Hey guys, hope you're having an amazing day and welcome to another video. And today I have for you a special two-part review of DASAITA's new flagship Android head unit, the G13. So let's get into it, shall we? So those who've been tuning into my quest, which simply started out with getting Android Auto in my notorious 2020 Toyota Corolla, I've been documenting this long journey from a basic Carling kit device to replacing my broken factory head unit with an entirely new one. But recently a manufacturer named DASAITA reached out to me and said they can one-up that with their new flagship model, the G13. Now obviously I was a bit intrigued. I told them straight up it would have to be quite different from what I currently have. And not just terms of hardware, but the overall experience. And quite the experience I did get. So this will be my installation and review of DASAITA's new G13 Android head unit. So first of all, who is DASAITA? Turns out this company has a long history in the Asian market. Now in my research, they're one of the leading manufacturers of Android head units for over 15 years, which is a definite plus in my books. And since then, they've expanded to include a whole ecosystem of other integrated car devices 100% compatible with the G13 product line, such as their reverse cameras and their 4K dash cams, one of which I actually already own. So if you're someone who is looking for an all-in-one solution for your car, this is it. Because later on I'll show you how easy it is to pair with their devices. Now I honestly have to say what really makes DASAITA stand out from the crowd has got to be their community and product support. Their communication just tops every other head unit company I've dealt with. Unlike just the chat on AliExpress, they literally can be contacted through so many online platforms. Their online website is chocked full of details, pictures, videos, frequently asked questions, online chat, support email addresses, firmware downloads, even an active online community forum, where you can even ask and post messages. And it doesn't even stop there. They've got social media pages, and most of their products can be found on Amazon.com. It's a total breath of fresh air to see this much support in Android units, which definitely DASAITA does right. Anyway, let's get into the unboxing of the G13. When ordering from their website, it comes directly from their factory in China. The shipping time was extremely fast. I mean, within a week for me in Canada. So it really took me by surprise how fast things travel sometimes. Now, obviously this is going to be a box within a box, where I have to give DASAITA huge respect compared to my other video where my iNavi box from AliExpress was only wrapped in plastic. Now, this is how you set the customer experience, especially when you spend quite a large amount of money for something. The least they can do is protect it, so this is a fantastic start. The box is actually quite large, and there's a reason for this, which I'll show you later. DASAITA offers multiple trims for many different vehicles, so I assume their box sizes are custom depending on the order. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of marketing. I absolutely love the white minimalistic design. Very classy, very aesthetically pleasing. As I always say, it shows a lot about the company that puts thought and money into presentation, so I know that they're proud of showcasing their product. All I gotta say is wow, such a huge difference in quality compared to my previous iNavi packaging. DASAITA provides you with an actual booklet instead of computer paper. Guys, an actual warranty card. Very professional. Not only that, it looks like proper English too. I can say that I'm already impressed at this point. This is really cool, the stereo wiring diagram. Very pleasing to the eye. And not only that, you can see that it's very thick stock paper, guys. Something so luxurious I'm not used to in comparison to my previous experience with another brand. Wow. This is impressive. Actual instructions how to replace my head unit specifically on my notorious 2020 Toyota Corolla, with pictures no less. I really wish I would have discovered DASAITA first, as it would have saved me a lot of time knowing how to install my head unit properly. They definitely know where the customer's sticking points are, and I would say this is one of the things that will set them apart from the others. This would be the bag of many cables, GPS, antennas, and that will connect to the back. I love their blue colored theme throughout this unboxing. It so far feels clean and consistent, which I like. This must be the power cable and Canbus adapter. Super important, super specific for your vehicle brand. Normally, head units purchased elsewhere requires you to find them separately and wire them up yourself, which is a big headache. DASAITA includes one specific to your order, which is a definite plus. Now this is a bonus. Zip ties and a trim remover tool. Two things I guarantee you'll be using later. And here's the main unit. Again, I gotta appreciate the care and attention to detail. Not many companies out there are willing to spend much effort into packaging, especially in the Asian market. I immediately noticed that the unit has some good weight to it, and I'll explain later why. And voila! This is DASAITA's newest flagship Android head unit, as of this recording, the G13. Obviously, the sheer size of the screen and the entire form factor is totally different from any Android unit I've reviewed. As you can see, it aligns more with the standard stereo format, which does have its advantages. The large surface area of the all-metal body design acts like a large heatsink, distributing and removing a lot of the heat, as we know that these units get quite hot to the touch while in use. And having the circuit board separated away from the back of the screen like this will reduce any noise interference and overheating issues of any of the components, which I felt was a big detriment in the other Android units. I'll definitely sacrifice the smaller footprint for more reliability and performance. Also noticeably, the ultra-wide G13 has a screen protector on, as well as the factory reset button and the onboard microphone on the side. Now let's dive into the hardware specs. The DASAITA G13 boasts a super wide 12.3-inch QLED screen at an impressive 1920 by 720 high-resolution pixels. It also features optically bonded glass, meaning you'll get darker blacks, less refraction, at the same time producing more bright, richer colors than regular LED screens. The CPU is the latest Qualcomm Snapdragon 665, running up to 2 GHz with 2 configurations of memory and storage. The first configuration has 6 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage. The other configuration is with 8 GB of RAM and 256 GB of storage, which is this unit I'm reviewing. Now, I would always be concerned with the amount of memory for my decisions. 6 GB of RAM is quite a lot already. As you guys know, my previous iNavi unit only had 4 GB, as I would describe myself as a light user. If you are a really heavy multitasker with many applications, it definitely helps to have 8 GB of memory for a smoother experience. The G13 does support external USB flash drives, so storage won't be an issue for me. Lastly, the DASAITA G13 is an upgrade, as of this recording, running one of the latest Android 13 OS builds. DASAITA support has been great so far, as I had constant communication with them, and indeed that they will have future updates if and when there are new software or security upgrades available. Like I mentioned earlier, you also get an English manual, and quite professionally written, unlike most devices from China. It contains a lot of information and pictures, mostly how to navigate the user interface, as well as some installation details and technical pinouts. This manual also contains frequently asked questions, as well as troubleshooting tips, which no doubt is a compilation of common questions and answers from customer support. This will be the most interesting to read. Now this is a warranty card, a very nice touch, something I rarely encounter from other brands. It's quite obvious that DASAITA's customer focus is quite apparent and on par with a lot of higher-end consumer standards. No doubt the efforts to break into the North American market through platforms like Amazon is influencing a drive towards more accessibility and customer satisfaction. It states here that they have a 30-day return and exchange and a 1-year warranty with sensible conditions not out of the ordinary. Now here's a beautiful wiring diagram showing exactly what cables and devices plug into which port on the back. Again, the technical pinouts are labeled on the upper right-hand side. There's pretty much no confusion here, which again, DASAITA shines through. So I'll be keeping this handy when it comes time to the installation. On the back, they've thought ahead and provided quick instructions how to get running with the most common application, which is wireless Android Auto and CarPlay. The final surprise is this insert containing specific instructions how to remove and replace the OEM head unit on my 2020 Toyota Corolla. I can only assume DASAITA does this for every single vehicle, which adds a nice custom touch to it. Again, the detailed pictures look quite easy to follow. As I already know how to remove my trim, this helps a lot of those first-timers out there who's on the fence to installing it themselves. On the back, there are a lot of common things answered, which again, DASAITA probably spends a lot of time helping customers knowing what people ask for. On the bottom, again, pictures are worth 1,000 words. It shows exactly, from the OEM ports, how your car will connect to the G13, now with their supplied harness. Super easy. One of the great unique features of the DASAITA G13 line of Android head units is the inclusion of their power and Canbus cable. This cable eliminates the traditional need of splicing wires to your car, as everything is already done for you. With this one adapter, you can easily connect the G13 unit directly to your car, making it essentially a plug-and-play device. Included is this Canbus decoder box that translates your car's data. You'll want to make sure this is securely seated in the connector, as it may become loose in the package. And now for the bag of cables. Don't be intimidated by all these wires, it'll all make sense later. Here's the adapter for RCA audio out if you have an external speaker system. It also has an additional video in, and the reverse video connector, which most of you want to use if you want your factory reverse camera to work. I'll be demonstrating this later for you guys. But just to remind you, you don't have to be using all these plugs if you don't have to. Here is another adapter for audio in, a front camera video in, as well as various bare wires to carry the brake signal, power, and ground for things like external cameras. We won't be needing to deal with these in this video. Here is the connector for the external microphone. The G13 itself already has a built-in mic, so this is optional. The G13 also includes two adapters to connect your USB devices, such as flash drives, to directly transfer files, or most likely play music and movies. Now, if you want to use your existing USB port on your Corolla, it's certainly possible if you use this adapter, which will make everything look so seamless. The unit also supports a 4G LTE SIM card, which is always useful if you wanted to have dedicated voice and data, just to run native apps on the go if you decide not to use Android Auto. If you do decide to use the SIM card, you'll need to attach this antenna, and it does include a long cord with some adhesive on the back. This is the Wi-Fi antenna. And here is the GPS module. It includes a long enough cord and adhesive to place it on my dash or my windshield. I do recommend a clear line of sight to the sky, so that it'll easily acquire satellites quicker. And just so you know, the use of GPS satellite data is basically free. Only transmitting that data from your car to somewhere remote usually isn't, and requires an internet connection. The G13 also includes an external microphone. Now, with my experience, generally the call quality on Android units leaves a lot to be desired. They typically don't use your car's existing microphone, so we'll see how this one fares. We can use this attachment to clip it anywhere, or use this adhesive to mount it nearby. I believe these are mounting spacers for the unit. And DASAITA also supplies you with a trim tool, as well with a bunch of zip ties, which you'll definitely need, and I do recommend buying even more. Now that we know what comes in the box, I want to show you where all the cables eventually connect to on the back of the G13. The trim for my Corolla is pre-installed and can be easily detached if necessary by pushing it down and releasing the latches on each side of the unit. As you can see, there are more labels and pinouts of the connections, which is a great reference if you don't have that wiring diagram around. This would be incredibly handy for technicians that may have to work with your unit while inside your car. This would be the optional HDMI out port, useful to mirror the screen in the back seat if you have an extra monitor. Next to it, we also have an optical audio out port if you wish to hook up a separate sound system. Plugging in the cables is pretty straightforward. They're even labeled and color-coded according to the wiring diagram. Now with all the cables plugged in, we still need to make a few connections coming from the Canbus power cable. This would be the radio antenna, auxiliary sound, and video for the factory reverse camera. The G13 does support a 360-degree view camera system, which is labeled on port E, and that has a 10-pin connector. Unfortunately, mine uses 12 pins, so I won't be able to demonstrate this feature in this review. To prepare installation, I'm going to have to remove the longer cables, as I'll fish them through behind the dash, starting from their proper positions before reconnecting them to the unit. So if you guys been following me through my previous videos, I'd installed an Android unit to replace my broken factory head unit. Since most of you watching are probably new viewers with the stock screen, I'll show you footage from that video how I easily removed mine from my notorious 2020 Toyota Corolla. I started by prying the frame off with my fingers. You can remove the climate console by using the trim tool around the sides, or simply reaching in and pulling back straight out with your hands. And there are two cables to unclip. You'll need a 10mm socket to remove two bolts on each side. The top bolts are harder to get to. You may need a short socket extension to reach up in there. Once all four bolts are removed, you can pull out the factory unit with a bit of force. Now you can unplug each car connector from the back. Next, pull out the back hood to remove it. We'll need to transfer the red clips onto our new trim. I'd like to make sure one last time all the connections are seated properly before taking it to the Corolla. Back in the car, it'd be a good time to fish the GPS, 4G antenna, microphone, and the USB cables through the car dash. I'll start by pulling the plastic A-pillar away. The GPS and 4G antenna cables can be snaked down through the dash, behind the glove compartment, and up to the open console. The external microphone can also be snaked down the same route from the headliner. Make sure it's away from the airbags. The USB and SIM card cables can also be connected through the glove compartment. As you can see, here's the car's cable harness that should all plug into the G13 Canbus power adapter. And these ones right here will plug into the back of the G13. Now I'm dry fitting the unit into the car to see how much room I have to work with. The bottom seems to have plenty of open area to stuff all the wires. I did discover I'll need more slack for the cables that fit on the back of the G13 because it goes further deep in there. And this is why all the prep work is super important. You'll be able to rest the unit on top of the dash since it's quite heavy to hold and plug in the connections at the same time. I figured I'd begin by connecting the car harness first. All the connectors are uniquely shaped and fit one way, which makes it very easy to install. The last bundle of wires can now be connected to the G13. Now when all the plugs are connected, you can attach the unit back to the dash. At this point, you can test it by turning on your car, even without the AC attached. But I'll continue assembling since I'm quite confident all the cables are correct. One bolt on each side can secure the unit to the dashboard. It's important as you don't want the G13 to ever fall out from a bump. So when I tried putting back the AC console, I knew it had to be more complicated than this. My 2020 Corolla is notorious for a reason. The factory mounts do make it difficult for Android manufacturers like DASAITA to fit custom trims for larger head units, as it requires a different setup. Luckily, I did show you how to take off the trim earlier, because I figured out you'll need to separate the trim from the unit first. We'll then have the freedom to install the AC console under and around the G13 trim. Then we're able to tighten the bolts on the side by hand through the opening. Finally, we can slide the unit inside. You can lock it into position by slightly angling it while pushing up vertically and in. The G13 should snap into place, and we are done. And guys, I gotta say, what a beautiful sight. The G13 looks pretty sleek in the Corolla, being ultra wide like this. This has been quite a long install video, so I'll continue this with a second part where I'll detail my first impressions, review its functionality and features, and give my final thoughts on DASAITA's G13 Android head unit on my notorious 2020 Toyota Corolla, so stay tuned. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment below, and if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to this humble YouTube channel, as it helps me create more content like this for you guys. Alright, cheers!